2, 1. Hello again on this December 19th, and welcome to this special edition of Tales from the Heart, a podcast from the HCMA. We are excited to. I'm so excited I can't get the slide deck right. I'm messing it up. There we go. We got Eric up front here. So, congratulations to our friends at Cytokinetics. Today is a really special day for them, and I want to give some reflections before we talk about the label. I'm joined by Dr. Marty Maron. Marty, thanks for joining us on a Friday evening. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Of course, I had to be here with those. Anything that's a special. That was three in a row. Yeah, that's as bad as high level as you can get in HCM. So
I think so.
I couldn't miss it.
It is an important day. We have our second label drug for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy for obstructive patients. Yep. I just want to give a big shout out to Robert Blum and Fatty and the rest of the team, which is Steve Heitner and Dan Jacoby and Mary Pomerantz and all of our friends and just collaborators over at Cytokinetics. Back in 2018, I received a phone call from Robert Blum, the CEO, who said, we're really interested in coming into this space. What do we need to know and what can we do to help your community? And we had some very deep conversations, and they created the protocols based on all that feedback. And we brought the right clinicians to the table. We brought the right researchers to the table. We brought the right patients to the trials. And we have won this game. And then we got a new drug approved today. I got a phone call at 4:01 p.m. Eastern time from Robert, and I could literally hear the hooting and hollering in the background at Cytokinetics. So we're celebrating with them today, and this is the first step. The drug is not available tomorrow. You can't call your doctor and ask for it, but we want to talk about what this drug is a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about the label. We're only going to be here for a few minutes tonight, kind of launching this. We will be back in the new year with some more content and more details on programming. And I will be joined in February on a podcast or webinar by Jan Jacoby and Steve Heitner, who are going to take a deeper dive with us. But today, as one of the PIs on the program, I wanted to bring Marty in to kind of talk about the label a little bit. Marty, you want to share some insights as to why this day is kind of cool?
Yeah, no, well, yeah, of course. And I just wanted to first start off myself by also kind of second following you up, I guess I should say, by congratulating what is an historic day, for HCM patients, for the entire community. And we have to really recognize the incredible and enormous amount of work that has gone into where we are today through the enormous efforts of an entire team at Cytokinetics in the development of a new drug for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy that was approved, as you said, by the FDA today for the treatment of patients that have symptomatic obstructive HCM. And so I want to just myself personally give a huge shout out to that entire group. They deserve an enormous effort. The effort that they did here was just so enormous. I think you and I have been involved, as collaborators, since as you said, since the beginning. And I think that gave us the, in a way, the unique vantage point of really understanding how much work goes into this process of developing a drug and ultimately getting it to patients. It's just enormous, and just have an enormous amount of respect for them, and we're just thrilled for the entire team today. So that's so let's talk a minute then about sort of what are we talking about? We're talking about aficamten, which or mycorzos is
mycorzo.
Mycorzo. Right.
Mycorzo.
Yeah, I'm just learning this myself today as well. So we're all kind of getting used to saying that.
So let's just take a second to explain to some people why there's a name change. So we have a chemical name that we do the trial under. So that was aficamten. when it goes commercial and they get approval, they put a brand name on it.
Right.
So the brand name is Mycorrhiza. So when we dealt with another one, it was mavacamten became Camzyos. Now
That's right.
aficamten becomes Mycorrhiza. So you'll hear those names interacting, and now you know what they mean. So Mycorrhiza is the new name of the drug.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And so what aficamten, is a second in class cardiac myosin inhibitor, which acts at the level of the heart muscle in HCM to ultimately decrease the outflow tract gradient, as well as potentially other favorable effects on the heart muscle, to translate into what we call clinical benefit, which we've seen now through a number of big studies that were done over the last several years, evaluating the effectiveness and the safety as well, of course, of aficamten in populations of patients with symptoms due to obstructive HCM. And what those studies show, ultimately, that evidence led to the approval today of the drug for patients, is that it is very effective, highly effective, aficamten, in lowering and in many patients obliterating the outflow tract gradient to translate into a significant improvement in how patients feel, improving their quality of life, as well as enhancing their exercise performance as well. Okay, so drug that really has made an enormous impact on making patients with obstructive HCM feel better and function better. And it did that in the studies extremely safely as well. And also as well, very well tolerated. So a very good safety profile here for the drug as well.
Could not agree more. It's a great safety profile. Here's what your bottles are going to look like when you get them in the mail, if you're getting them.
Yep.
So we're going to take a look on some of the label, and we're just going to go over this real quickly. This is not an end-all be-all, and we're all just learning this information in live time. So we may not be able to be really specific on things. We're gonna give the information that we can give. So here is the dosage and administration. There is a REMS program on this, a risk evaluation and mitigation system. That is a mechanism that the FDA uses to ensure that this is a safe delivery of drug. These are some of the dosing requirements. So anybody with an ejection fraction of 55 or greater with a gradient over 30 can start on 5 milligrams. Here's where things get a little different. They can increase the dose every 2 to 8 weeks, depending upon imaging and clinician input. And they can continue to titrate up the dosing from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 as a maximum dose. And there's a pause required only if the ejection fraction goes 40 or under. So there's a little bit more room in there because EFs can bounce a little bit. Marty, did you want to say anything about the dosing or the administration?
Yeah, I mean, I think those 2 points are really huge here. I mean, I think that and it's sort of a progress, a huge amount of progress in a way here based on those 2 aspects to the monitoring program that you just mentioned, which is that number one, this idea of flexibility, which is huge, I think is huge because it really allows for the patients, in terms of the patient engagement and accessibility here, it makes that, I think, tremendously easier when you've got that aspect of flexibility built in to this REMS program, as opposed to, a more rigid system where patients have to, have their echo done at a specific point, kind of making it much more difficult for a lot of patients to access that kind of rigidity in terms of long-term monitoring. So that flexibility here is a really important and very, in my view, this is a very favorable aspect here. As is the opportunity as well, and this was your second point, to increase the dose, if the gradient remains present, after the initial dosing here. Okay. And what that I think kind of translates to is the opportunity here that we're going to see for patients to really achieve a more rapid improvement in their symptoms than what we've got available to. So I think that's a huge step forward as well. So those are all, to me, generate a lot of enthusiasm.
So we're going to go into a couple of factors.
Would you agree?
I would agree. The other part of the flexibility issue that's really going to be helpful for the clinics is if you're required to have your imaging done every 30 days, there's a problem with getting that echo lab time sometimes for some labs. And we want to make sure that we can keep people rolling through that echo lab and getting those follow-up echoes. And then once you've reached maximum or a therapeutic dosing, then it's every 6 months you have to be evaluated. So
right.
the echo burden is a little bit less here than we've seen in other myosin inhibitors.
And also, can we also make one other point about that too? If I'm interpreting it correctly, which I think I am, is that the flexibility scheme here for the echoes is that they can be done, I think, between 2 and 8 weeks. Yep. Is that correct? Right. So
8 weeks right here.
So that's important, really important on one end. The 2 weeks, that means that that you can rapidly up titrate the dose. I think as soon as 2 weeks here. And that really translates into a significant sort of improvement in terms of symptoms much more rapidly, very rapidly, I would say. And so that really gives patients an opportunity here to achieve really a substantial overall improvement in their health status fairly quickly, which is great. I mean, that's fantastic.
Cytokinetics is calling me now, but I just killed them. That was Mary.
Well, that's your interpretation as well. I mean, right? I mean, that you can achieve dose increases as quickly as 2 weeks here with those echoes.
Yes, you can. And so I don't know how providers are going to want to schedule that out, but to know that you have the shortest window of 2 weeks, and a longer window out to 8 weeks gives you just that a bit more flexibility in your dosing time and organizing it within the clinic time. This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, from really motivated patients, that 2 weeks is really a great opportunity. It opens a door, I guess, is really the way to look at it, to have a pathway to achieving a substantial improvement rapidly here.
Absolutely. So the prescriber information is very similar to the currently existing REMS, that the prescriber has to get REMS certified so they know how to manage this drug. The patients must enroll in the REMS system, which they will assist you in doing. The pharmacies need to be REMS certified, and the wholesalers can only sell to certified pharmacies. So there's some very tight controls on this because it is still a very powerful drug. And we want to make sure the right people get the right drugs at the right time at the right dosing. And these REMS programs are intended to keep patients safe. And this is a little bit more on the titration. So dose may be titrated after each echo. Echoes can be completed within 2 to 4 weeks, allowing flexibility. There is no drug-drug interaction here, with the exception of a very rare drug for tuberculosis, I forget the name of it. Rafapin. I'm going to say that one wrong, but it's only one drug and it's only used in tuberculosis and it's quite rare.
Yeah, it's hardly ever. Yeah, exactly.
It's rare. So, and pregnancy is safe, they are stating. So those who are of childbearing years may want to take this into consideration and have conversations with their healthcare providers as to which myosin inhibitor might be right for them. The echoes that we talked about every 6 months after you're at stable state.
And I think also, just, maybe to back up 1 second, perhaps here, I think that those listening probably get this, but I think it's worth sort of saying as well, is that, these REMS programs that we're talking about with the echo monitoring are done to, help to make sure that patients remain safe on the drug. And so what safety we're talking about, of course, in this class of drugs is that sometimes the heart pump function can decrease a little bit more than we would want that to happen. And I will tell you that with aficamten, in the studies, the number of patients or the incidence of that happening, low pump function because of the drug, was very, very low, very low. And in those patients actually that happened, the very few, they did not have any change in their clinical status, and none of them actually needed to stop aficamten at all either. Okay, and that's, I think, why we are seeing a fairly flexible and engaging REMS program here, because it's supported by the fact that we saw with those studies a very good safety profile.
Absolutely. We are going to be bringing you a lot of content in January and February on the rollout of this drug. There's going to be a lot more detail to follow, but I've always promised you, as soon as I have any information, I'm going to bring it to the full community as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Right. I was notified less than 2 hours ago of this label. Marty was great to jump right on a webinar. I'm like, we got to do this. Let's go. And we got out here to tell you all today that this is a day to celebrate. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. We've got a gift, another drug in our box.
Let's make one other quick point before we sort of wrap it up, just so that everybody, again, is clear here, that this approval is for symptomatic obstructive HCM. And on that point, the aficamten is also being evaluated in non-obstructive HCM. And that's a big clinical trial that we're going to know the results of sometime in the spring. And so we'll have a better idea about whether this drug is going to provide an improvement in how patients feel and function if you have non-obstructive HCM, probably in the middle of next year. And so if you're non-obstructive, hold on, because there's going to be more information about this drug for you coming out. But what we're talking about today is for obstructive HCM. Yeah.
In the earnings or in the finance call, so after these things happen, they do a call for the investment community. There was a statement by, I think it was Robert, that there is a very clear focus on the non-obstructed population. And when the data comes out, they're going to move very quickly in that space as well. So stay tuned for more information in the non-obstructed, more options for obstructed. We are thrilled to have 2 great products on the market. It was our entire research community, our patient community that made this happen. Your participation in clinical trials brought this moment. Don't ever forget how important it is to be a participant in a clinical trial and what amazing things we can do when we work together as a community. I got to go because it is my dataversary. On this day back in 1982, my husband and I went on our first date, and we're going to go celebrate by doing glass blowing tonight. And I got to go to do that. So it's celebration weekend. Congratulations to Cytokinetics. Marty, thank you for participating today. And thank everybody for jumping on a last minute webinar or podcast. And thank you to everybody who made this moment happen. And we'll be getting you more information in the brand new year. Thanks, Marty.
Thank you. These are great times. Thank you.
Thank you.